What are your concerns regarding the potential dangers or vulnerabilities with AI?
So that is a hot topic these days.
Good day. I'm Janice Spooner with Great Plains Bank, and this is the podcast of Banking on Success Together. Today, we have a very special guest in Special Agent Howard joining us from the FBI Cybersecurities Division here regionally in Texas, but we'll get to him in just a little bit. For now, let's talk about the economy. That's been on top of everyone's mind for a long while. And right now, people were hopeful that the Fed would choose to cut rates in June, and it doesn't look like they're going to because they're still needing to wait. The economy still continues strong. GDP numbers and employment numbers continue to come in. And so I really believe they're going to wait, hit a pause, and wait to see what happens. Federal Chairman Jerome Powell speaks tomorrow at a San Francisco Fed moderated event. We'll see what he says tomorrow. But I would say everything that I've read every single day is they were going to wait just a little bit. But as you've seen on the previous podcast, we talk about the economy locally, small business, banking matters. We talk about real estate, both commercial and consumer, meaning your single family homes. And so we want to highlight a little bit of that today, as well as what's going on in our area. And the construction at Great Plains Bank South Lake, it continues to go well. As we've discussed, the Fed, they're going to pause, they're going to wait, they're going to keep just an eye on what's going on. So if you don't have time to monitor this type of activity like we do in banking, tune in next month and we'll cover what's been happening the last 30 days. Certainly, the word is bumpy. It's just going to be bumpy. But just know that Great Plains Bank, our teams across Texas, Oklahoma, and otherwise, we're going to keep with the commitment to be here for our communities and what we need. I will tell you, small businesses are still struggling. They still need help. So make sure you shop local and join in them to keep them open, as well as if you are a commercial real estate owner and you have investment properties or otherwise for that type of business venture, make sure you're talking to your bank often, be proactive, really see what's coming down the pipe for each bank because each model in banking is different, as well as their capital requirements. And, the regulators, they truly oversee what's happening at each bank, but they're different for different banks, different models. So stay in contact with your lender and make sure that they know what's going on with your small business and your commercial real estate. So here we are. We have joining us our primetime Special Agent Howard. Special Agent Howard, thanks for joining me. It's great to see you again today.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So again, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here. So I am a supervisor with the FBI here in the Dallas, Texas field office. I supervise one of our two cyber squads. I supervise our cyber national security squad, which deals with primarily theft of intellectual property, economic espionage, that's perpetrated mainly by state-sponsored actors, but we also deal with cyber terrorism and any other kind of cyber threats, national security, or concerns, or threats to our critical infrastructure. So I've been doing that for a little over 2 years now. But prior to that, I was a special agent here in the Dallas field office, arrived here in 2009. Been working cyber the entire time. Before that, I was an intel analyst for a couple of years with the FBI and for about 2.5 years, and I made the jump to become an agent. My entire time in the Bureau, pretty much, say for the first year as an analyst, I've been working cyber. And so I've seen just the evolution of the crime and how the different threats we were working and the sophistication of phishing and spamming and all the threats of how it's grown. And I've had the fortune, I love the threat and I love working it. And so I've had the fortune to work several different things. I worked the economic espionage, national security stuff at first. Then I worked cyber criminal matters, and I financially motivated cybercrime. Went up to headquarters to work with our one of our major major cybercrime unit up there. and was made the de facto. I was a program manager, then made the de facto threat manager for ransomware during my time up there. So I was there a little bit more than 18 months, and just learned a lot. Was happy to bring that back to Dallas. Got some overseas experience as well in our legal attaches. In 2013, I basically spent a better part of a summer in Nigeria. And then 2021, I was in Paris, France. And so then I came back here to Dallas as the supervisor of of our cyber national security squad.
Wow. We're blessed to have you. What a rich history of experience.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Do you work normal hours?
I have normal hours. Yes, I have normal hours. I would say that, right?
You're supposed to.
Yes, but I'm available at all times, and we do answer the bell at all times. Yeah,
That is incredible. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all that you do for our country and in our community. So I'm really thrilled to have you here today, because I found that a lot of people don't know what they need to know about cybersecurity. I've seen it personally with family members, with customers, with the community, just really getting taken,
Oh, yeah.
just unaware of how that happens. And so I really want to talk about that today. Is that all right?
No, absolutely.
So the first question that I have to you is, how does the Fed view or categorize the different cyber crimes out there, such as the difference between the internet scams and the complex compromises?
No, that's a great question. And so the way we view it and we categorize it, as I've said, I've seen it grow so much from my time as an investigator or just an employee with the FBI in the cyber program. And so, cybercrime can be a pretty broad term. And so we view it in kind of several buckets of cyber enabled, and then your really sophisticated cyber attacks, like your attacks or incidents that involve compromises of systems, of accounts, and sophisticated techniques like the actors employing malware and moving laterally through systems. Whereas, so that would be like your ransomware and your nation state actors, threats to critical infrastructure typically. And then we have the internet or the cyber enabled crimes that are like your BEC, and BEC can fall in between the two lanes sometimes, because sometimes it can be perpetrated with an actual compromise, or actually it can just be through spoofed emails. Sometimes if they have a really good understanding of how communications work between who they intend to victimize. And then you still have your online scams, like your investment scams, which we can talk a little bit more, your text scams and things like that, which it's cyber enabled, probably won't generally be worked by one of our cyber squads, but will be worked by the Bureau. And so it might fall more on our white collar squads or one of our other criminal squads these days now, because the FBI is really, as we've seen this evolution, we've evolved too. We've trained our agents and empowered our investigators, our intel analysts, our professional staff, our entire cadre to just have a broader and a greater understanding of cyber tools, cryptocurrency, and all that, because it's really cross-programmatic, and so they have to be, right? I mean, all investigators for doing espionage and international terrorism and just gangs, they're seeing more and more cyber in their investigations, and so we can't always rely on the cyber squads to work particularly those type of cyber-enabled matters. So I think you've heard our director say it, and our leadership say, like, we've got to get better, and we are getting better with cyber as a whole in the organization.
Well, and it's on us as a community to evolve as well.
Absolutely.
We need to be aware. We need to be mindful of what's going on. So I'm glad to hear that the FBI is evolving and growing. I understand there can be limitations on, staff and otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Prioritizing things, I understand that as well, but I appreciate the effort that you're doing and your team is doing to help with our community and evolving as well.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah.
So what are your concerns regarding the potential dangers or vulnerabilities with AI?
So that is a hot topic these days. And I can speak for myself, and I know the Bureau is tracking tremendously on, and we're concerned about how this can be utilized, weaponized, and how it's just going to change the threat landscape in the coming years, right? It's I've heard someone say it's kind of like the Oppenheimer question, AI, which is like, should we have created it? But if we didn't, somebody else would have. And so we have to lean into it now. It's here, and we've got to figure it out. So I mean, our concerns are just that. It's just how it's going to change the threat landscape, how it's going to empower those that weren't empowered before or weren't truly capable of conducting high level or low level cybercrime. I think we're already seeing it already at the early stages of what generative AI can do to make it more challenging to identify those sophisticated or those emails that come in from the business email compromise schemes or the fraudulent online schemes. There's no more misspellings. There's more grammatical errors. It's hard to spot. And I mean, even with generative AI now, with the voiceover calls and things like that, and these AI systems are truly are intelligent. These large language model systems that they can be persistent. They can quickly pick up on how to adapt and to like our responses. Even though we're practicing secure cyber hygiene or are interrogating the system, they know how to adapt. And then secondly, I would say it's going to lower the bar for entry into conducting cybercrime. That's extremely concerning. And what I mean by that is those who didn't really possess the skill set to develop malware or aren't really that developed or skilled at scripting, they can lean on these large language model systems now to help them craft these malware tools and so forth to conduct these attacks, and then it can help them also broaden the surface that they can attack. So these are a lot of things that that we're tracking, that private sector I know is already reporting on and seeing, and it's a huge concern. But the last thing I always like to, when I talk about AI, I always want to leave with a little bit of optimism, and which is I really do think that it can help us in the fight as well. I think we can leverage that as well to quickly analyze some of the threats that we're seeing and pivot ourselves, right? And to respond. It's going to empower a lot of companies to respond a lot faster. But with everything, it's dual edge. So yeah, there's a vulnerability there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. One time when we were talking, you mentioned about how iPhones watch the reactions in my face on, if I'm on the internet or shopping or whatever, and that would be the next ad that would pop up. I think I'm fairly well educated or good hygiene on the cybersecurity, but that surprised me that even facial, without saying something or without clicking on something, right, even facial is watching.
Right. Yeah. And no, yeah. I mean, with that, that's just the concerns with large language models or AI in general. One of the concerns I know that a lot of people have, that if it can quickly recognize individuals or pick up on cues and tailor just different responses to you or different ads to you. Yeah.
So what are some best practices for businesses and personal cybersecurity and hygiene?
So some of the best practices for cybersecurity and cyber hygiene, I would say is, everyone's going to say employ multi-factor authentication, which I absolutely agree. You should. And that should be one of the first things you do with like any type of, like, I would be concerned, like if my banking or anything like any systems with that whole system of information for me doesn't already employ that.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. If they don't, then you have you that should be your first clue to like, maybe I shouldn't be using their services. And then secondly, you should request that. I think that can help us a lot combat and bring down the level of victimization that we're witnessing. The other thing is, trust but well, I don't know if I say trust but verify, but like just interrogate, right? I'm a big believer that we're going to continue to see a bunch of cybersecurity tools and endpoint detection systems and things like that. But what I've seen is we're going to continue to get victimized because that human aspect is still always what really leads to the initial compromise. Someone did interrogate that email that came in a little harder. And so, if you're not expecting an email from someone, a phone call from someone, you need to question it. You need to interrogate it a little harder. And you need to do even some old school two-factor authentication of saying like, no, I'm not gonna click on this link and put in that information. I'm actually gonna go to the site that you're telling me that this came from myself, and then see if that message is truly there, if they're truly asking that for me. Be concerned, really, especially for a lot of elderly fraud we see. You really be concerned about anything that comes in with any level of urgency, right? They really prey on that, right? Especially when they're elderly schemes. It's just their grandson or grandchild
Yes.
is in prison or in jail for something, and they need assistance right now. Or even on these romance schemes, it quickly diverts to that. Quickly, like any type of situation that comes in that has a set level of urgency, you need to slow down and interrogate that a little bit further. And then just be really cognizant of what you put out there on social media, what you do for a living, where you work, but not even just that, just the information that your personal information that you share, because a lot of time that like your authentication questions, or what am I thinking for? Like when you're like verifying the account or something like that.
Your dog, your favorite place, your favorite restaurant.
You've already put it out there, and they could generate it as well. And then if be cognizant of any of the large breaches, right? And if they had some of your data, you need to. I would highly consider changing all my passwords and things like that, but you need to be changing that routinely, and employing long, complicated passwords, and not just short, complicated passwords. Yeah. So even if they're not as complicated, but they're long, they're a lot harder to break. Yeah. So these are some of the things that you can do, but, and then there's a lot of literature out there. Stay smart. We put out a lot of information on IC3. We work with our partners like CISA and NSA to put out our cybersecurity advisories and things like that. Stay smart. Like you said, the general public now has to have a certain level of operational security when it comes to operating online. Like, I'm teaching my kids that now.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you see are the top threats right now in cybersecurity? What are you seeing? What's happening?
So right now, like I said, cyber is a broad term. Cybercrime is a broad term, obviously. But what's being reported to us, like through our IC3.gov, it hasn't changed in the last 3 years. Actually, the costliest thing is investment schemes. And within investment schemes, it's cryptocurrency schemes, right? Cryptocurrency's been the hot topic for quite a while now. And investing in all these get rich or investment schemes that are gonna promise high yield return. We're seeing a lot of people fall victim to this, and they're finding them on social media in different type of ways. And then now, one of the more recent things we put out at the end of last year was that people were getting re-victimized because there are companies out there, are fraudulent companies out there saying they can help you get the loss that you suffered from your previous cryptocurrency investment fraud or victimization. So that's definitely The costliest. I would say the second costliest is BEC still. It hasn't gone anywhere. And I don't foresee it going anywhere anytime soon. It's still very lucrative, unfortunately, for the criminals. And so, so I mean, we saw a rise in that over the last couple of years, and we've seen like real estate sector be hit or targeted pretty prevalently with BEC schemes, and so forth. So that's our second one, and then I'll say our third one is tech schemes, like call center schemes, things like that. Which again, as I mentioned earlier, unfortunately, it's disproportionately targeting the elderly. I think they account for about 60 to 70% of the loss that's been reported to us. But that's what's reported to IC3. What's being reported to the field office is the most, when you have that direct line with us, I'd probably say it's still ransomware. And even still, we don't think we're seeing, we know we're not getting the full reporting to us. Like with IC3, or at least with one of our takedowns, I think one of the ransomware families, we identified that it was like, once we got access to the servers and things like that, that only about 20% of the victimization had been reported to law enforcement.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what or how can the FBI, your office or otherwise, how can they assist small businesses or consumers when they get hacked or they have a takedown happen?
No, absolutely. So if you are victimized, I highly encourage you, obviously, to call the FBI if you've been victimized by some kind of cyber incident, especially ransomware. But just call law enforcement, and then if you can, I would highly encourage you to submit it on ic3.gov, the Internet Crimes Complaint Center. And then how we can help you. I mean, if you have a relationship with or you know someone in your local field office, or you just reach out to your local FBI field office. If you're victimized of a certain malware family or ransomware family, we're gonna work with you to share all the indicators that we can share with that can help you remediate your compromised systems really fast. Sometimes, as you see with our some of our recent ransomware takedowns, we can get you the decryption keys back, right? And we keep track of that. If we ever have success of that, then we'll follow up with you on that engagement to see if you still could use that service, if that can help out. We know a lot of times third parties are brought in, other law firms, but again, that's one way we can help you. The other way is if you're a victim of BC or just any kind of fraudulent wire transfer, you reach out to IC3, that automatically really triggers our recovery asset team to get engaged and to see how they can assist you with getting those funds returned, especially if you're reporting that to us in a very timely manner. And those transfers at least started domestically. We've been having a high success rate of working with the financial institutions to get those seized and then are frozen, and then hopefully returned and recovered through our financial fraud kill chain. And so, these are just one of many ways that we can help out. But then again, we're always putting out PSAs. Check ic3.gov. We can point you to some of the best practices that we have out there, or that our partners over at CISA recommend that you employ to practice good cybersecurity.
That's great. I've always been curious as to, is there a jurisdiction? I mean, like, what's the first step to contact the FBI? Is it ever the police? Is it where their server is? What does that jurisdiction or reporting line look like?
So the first thing we always want to tell the victims is we don't want you to be concerned with that. We will figure out jurisdiction. We just want you to report the crime. Like, if you've been victimized, we want you to report it to us, and we want to see how we can help you as soon as possible to get back up and running, right? As far as like how we eventually will prosecute it and who will take lead on it, that will depend on different things, where the victim's located, where the actual crime take place, especially with cyber, like where the servers are located. But again, we take care of that on our end. Every agent, every field office is empowered and is knowledgeable on how to figure out like who is lead, what office, or what investigative team is lead on that specific criminal threat, criminal enterprise. And we'll get you in touch with the right investigators as soon as possible. So again, we just want you to report it as soon as possible. And again, if you have a relationship, we really encourage that you have a relationship with the FBI, or you at least know how to get in contact with the FBI before you are victimized.
So a small business gets a takeover. First thing they do is what?
I would say
Turn off everything. I mean, what do they do?
Well, no. So if they've been intruded on or been taken over or malware, I mean, I would say the first thing that obviously they probably do, if they have cyber insurance or some cybersecurity team, they probably should reach out to them. But they should also reach out to law enforcement and let them know, right, that hey, we're dealing with an incident. Reach out to FBI and just see what we can do to help you out, right? Like see what we know about this ransomware family. We pride ourselves on service and response, and we're going to be there within an hour to help you out.
Wow, that's incredible.
That's our promise.
So one more question, if you will. Kids.
Yes.
Kids don't pay attention. What, as parents, you and I are both parents, what can we do to be educating our children about this, the critical nature of how this really matters?
Yes, that's a great question. Something I deal with as a parent all the time, right? And my kids complain to me all the time that they don't have any freedoms or privileges because of me, right? Because I know everything. But I think you need to look for those well, first, you need to just talk to them about the dangers, like of what is out there on the internet, right? You need to have those frank conversations of like, hey, this is why I don't allow you to have so much time or to visit these different sites, because it can easily dive into this type of information that's put out there. You can easily be tricked or be reached out to by someone that had ill intentions. It's a hard conversation to have with the kids, truly, because you want them to live in a world where they think everything is okay, but yet you truly have to have a conversation with them about like the dangers of people reaching out to them on these devices, because these kids are getting phones at middle school or before then, right? So that's one of my concerns, is that these spamming or these tech frauds or any type of scams are going to get that phone number and reach out to them, and they'll inadvertently download something that they shouldn't have downloaded on their phones. And so you've got to have those hard conversations with them. And then you just gotta, I think you've gotta have a certain level of trust with the devices, but just let them know that like at all times you're going to check it yourself, right? And just have them understand that there's certain dangers that just come with being connected. And so teaching them not to overshare things with their friends and things like that when they're traveling or anything. Yeah.
And I've found that so many young people, they will come and believe that someone's recorded them doing something wrong, or they have a picture, and so they try to blackmail them or other things. And that's led to some very tragic ends and circumstances that happen. So that's part of the hard conversations that we have to have.
No, you're absolutely right. I actually just had a situation with my kids where my oldest, that they were doing something silly on one of their devices, and he recorded his sister, and then he shared it with his friend, or he just showed it to his friend. His friend came over, and she was pretty embarrassed about it. It was nothing big, but I took that as a learning opportunity, right? To teach them both. It's like, hey, like this is the danger of when you let someone record you, and then that, like, it's theirs now. They own it, right? And so you got to understand, like, that once you put it out there, you don't own it anymore, and someone can do something bad with it. And it was a good learning lesson for my oldest, for them to know that, like, hey, she felt she was doing that in the safe space with you, and I know you felt it was innocent, but like as you get older, you could be held accountable for sharing things that people didn't want you to share.
Right.
It's a new world that we
is.
live in, and we have to teach our children how to navigate this now.
And our elderly
And our elderly as
parents,
well. Yes.
as well as the middle of the road folks. We
Yes.
all have to learn. We all have to take responsibility for our own actions, being informed and
Mhm.
educated. I know you've talked about the website a couple of times. I
Yes.
do. If you would go through the tools and how to reach the office and, what they can find on the website to
Yes.
be more empowered
No,
and smarter.
no, absolutely. So, I mean, you're going to find a lot of good literature and information on the different schemes out there that we're aware of and that we're putting out the indicators on our Internet Crimes Complaint Center, ic3.gov, ic3.gov. You'll also find them find some of them on the FBI's website under Cyber Division, our cyber program. But yeah, I empower the public to definitely visit those sites, get yourself educated. And then also, just Google your local FBI field office. And I say Google, and the reason why I say that is because, again, going back to that trust but verify, I always tell people, like, if I were to cold call them or something like that, and I have some information I want to share with them, I tell them, if you don't trust who I am, I believe it. I would be out there in person. I understand that, but I'm going to give you my number, but look it up, right? Because I'm again, it's another opportunity to teach people, just like, don't just trust people who reach out to you, especially if you weren't expecting it. Look me up. This is my name. Look me up. Ask when you get the main line. Ask for Special Agent Howard.
Well, thank you, Special Agent Howard. You have been a joy, scary, but a joy to visit with today. I really appreciate you taking time, and your team taking time to join me on this podcast. And any other last parting words from you?
No. I guess the last thing I would just say is, no, thank you for having me here. This is obviously, I love what I do, and I'm very passionate about this topic, especially the dangers of what this threat can potentially do to small businesses.
Yes.
And individuals, just because, like the massive corporations, they may not have all the tools and the cybersecurity team. So, and education to me is just the biggest tool and the greatest tool we have to combating cyber victimization. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, let's switch gears for a moment, if you will. I want to celebrate 3 wonderful women that are making a difference in the lives of the future of our leaders just here in Southlake right now. Carroll ISD Board of Directors each month celebrates and awards 3 staff members with the designation of receiving the hashtag Inspire Excellence. From the nominations the school board received for February, I want to just quickly announce those winners. Lisa Correa with Eubanks Intermediate School, Luann Moffitt, Carroll Elementary, Leah Schwedler with Carroll High School. She's a robotics teacher. Great Plains Bank management employees and team just really supports our local schools and businesses, and we want to celebrate those teachers and staff members, and we'll do that each month. As well as today, we are actually awarding our first senior scholarship, and they will be notified by tomorrow for the Carroll ISD. We had some nominations come in, so this is for our March. This is March. It is second quarter already. March award for scholarship for that. So please join us next month. We'll celebrate the new recipients coming up. Please make sure, if you know a Carroll ISD senior, that you direct them to our website so that they can also get nominated and fill in and fill out all the forms and submit the documents to us so we can also consider them. Now, as we're about out of time, I do want to share a quick update about our branch renovation and construction. Construction is going great. We're sharing a little bit with you here today on that, and still doing fantastic on our scheduling. It still looks like end of April will be our phase 1 completion, where then we'll be moving back in while we complete phase 2 through the drive-through. But the bank is still open right now. The tellers and my new accounts team are still there. You just go to the bank, drive around the back, because I can't let you in the front just yet, and ring the doorbell. They'll let you in, greet you, take care of you, open your accounts, and you can access your safe deposit boxes. Remember, Great Plains Bank, we're here for you. We're preparing a branch for you that will sustain and help you for the next 20 years plus. So come with us, experience what a community bank looks like and feels like, and how we take care of our customers. You can reach me and find me at Great Plains Bank in Southlake at www.gpbanktx.com. The phone is 817-912-3444. The address is 325 East Southlake Boulevard, Southlake, Texas. I invite you to call or come by and just ring the doorbell, just like neighbors will let you in the door. I'm Janice Spooner, your host for Banking on Success Together. And until next time, I will remind you to share kindness often, stay well, and remember, we are greater together.